Jim Jordan got absolutely trounced this week on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. It's time for everybody's favorite new game show, Hypocrite of the Week. This week's contestant, someone we have seldom seen, but oh my goodness, how have we missed him? It's Jim Jordan. Joining me this week, my assistant, the beautiful Chuck Todd.
Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. He chairs the House Judiciary Committee. In fact, any police reform bill in many ways would begin in his committee.
A police reform bill? Hey, my assistant Chuck Todd has jokes.
So I don't know that any law, any training, any reform is going to change. You know, this man was handcuffed. They continued to beat him.
No law could change anything, so absolutely why bother? Well, that's absolutely on brand for Jim Jordan. So I'm sorry, that's just not going to cut it here on Hypocrite of the Week. You're going to have to do better than that.
But I don't know if there's anything you can do to stop the kind of evil we saw in that video.
So it sounds like you are not for any new federal regulation.
So I think there's some things we can look at, but it's just a difference in I think a philosophy. The Democrats always think that it's a new law that's going to fix something that terrible.
Let me go through. Why not a federal ban on chokeholds? That seems to be, that's agreed upon, right? You're comfortable with a full federal ban on chokeholds for police officers?
I'm for the best training possible, but what I'm not for is what we saw there.
You're not for what you saw there? Well, that's a bullshit answer. That's worth 10 points.
We'll look at what we think makes sense to help this, to make sure they have the proper training. But no amount of training is going to change what we saw in that video.
But why not enact a federal standard here? Look, most people don't want to commit murder, but we have a federal standard when it comes to murder.
If we can incentivize certain things, I still think you want to keep this at the state and local level. This is a law enforcement issue. You start getting the federal government involved in databases and federalizing things. We've had members of Congress show up on the no-fly list because they were characterized as in the terrorist category.
You dumb idiot. My name's Zachariah. So you can imagine, considering Zachariah's Musawi, I've had to deal with that a couple of times. But wait, are you seriously equating that with dirty cops skipping state after state to get a new job after they commit a crime in the other state? That's a lot like no law could help that. That's worth another 10 points. You're up to 20.
We're just 10, 20 years ago.
Aren't you making the case for federal standards then? Because
No,
I say this, if you make a case for having strong standards that's uniform across the board, it gives people comfort.
I'm making the case that we shouldn't have this whole attitude about defund the police and disparaging police because the vast, vast majority of police officers aren't doing what we saw in that video.
No, I get you, but I don't think anybody in Washington is seriously advocating defunding the police.
The weaponization is we have that because of what we've seen in various agencies over the last couple of years. I mean, I'll just take the FBI, for example. The FBI spied on the president's campaign. Just last week, we learned that a former FBI agent, special agent in charge of counterintelligence in the New York division, was taking money from a Russian. And this wasn't just, this was the special agent in charge of counterintelligence in New York, taking money from Oleg Deripaska, not just any Russian, the Russian. And he was also.
You know who his American advisor was? Oleg Deripaska, the former campaign manager to Donald Trump's campaign.
I understand.
Paul Manafort.
I understand.
This is so.
But
does this not raise some
Deripaska,
troubling signs here?
It sure does. That's
Paul Manafort was the go-between for Oleg Deripaska. He gave him polling information on the campaign.
Oleg Deripaska also paid Christopher Steele, who was the key guy on the whole Steele dossier that launched the Trump-Russia investigation. Guess who one of the people was who involved in launching that? Mr. McGonigal, this special agent at the FBI. So that's what we're looking at this attack of
so you're going to look at
government against.
Are you going to look at the role Paul Manafort played with Oleg Deripaska?
To the extent that may come in, but we're focused on the number of things we've seen here. And
blowing off actual crimes. Well, that's some hypocritical stuff right there. I tell you what, that's worth 10 points. You're up to 30.
Department of Homeland Security
let me
tried to set up the
disinformation
governance board.
Well, I want to unpack a little bit. You talk about the FBI abusing power when it comes to parents and the school board. School board members were getting death threats. These weren't idle things. These weren't parents just yelling and screaming. These were actual death threats to elected officials. And the FBI got a tip. Should they not look into a death threat when an elected official gets a death threat?
On the snitch line that the Attorney General set up. So all that happens, think about it, September 29th, October 4th, October 20th of 20. That all happens in 22 days. When have you ever seen the federal government move that fast? 25 parents, whistleblowers.
There were actual death threats.
Understand,
literally.
Chuck, but let me just finish this. 25 parents get reported on that snitch line. They all get investigated. FBI shows up at their door. Guess how many have been charged? How many have been charged?
Yeah.
Zero.
Then the FBI did its job. Did the FBI not do its job?
You don't think,
if they were trumping something up, wouldn't they be arresting somebody?
One of the people charged.
You're trying to create a controversy out of the FBI following up on a tip. I mean, literally. This is what Loudoun County, Virginia school board member. If she doesn't quit or resign before the end of the year, we will kill her. But first, we will kill you. These were among the comments. In Dublin, Ohio, a school board member. You have become our enemies. You will be removed one way or the other. Shouldn't the FBI investigate these things?
One of the people they went to investigate was a mom, and they said because she's in the group Moms for Liberty and because they have firearms at her house, they go investigate her. You get investigated in America for that? They show up at your house?
So now even the FBI investigating threats to school board members, even that's weaponization. Holy crap, man. That's worth another 20 points. You're up to 50.
The problem that when you look at it is you want to talk about the weaponization of the Justice Department. You don't want to look at anything that happened during the Trump years. He subpoenaed data on Congressman Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. That is known. He secretly obtained reporters' phone records using the Justice Department. He pressured the Justice Department, Donald Trump did, to go easy on Michael Flynn and Roger Stone. The Justice Department was pressured by Mark Meadows to investigate this election fraud. He even tried to change the leadership at the Justice Department. My point is, if you are concerned about the weaponization of the Justice Department in the Biden years, why not investigate the Trump years?
We're going to look at threats to the First Amendment. We're going to look at what Elon Musk through the Twitter files has displayed is unbelievable.
Holy hypocrite, Batman! Twitter files is your answer? That's another 20 points for you, sir. You're up to a big 70 points. You're doing great.
The idea that the FBI was paying Twitter $3.4 million to help them suppress information.
That's not how it works.
Keep information from the American
Twitter to comply with subpoenas. That's the federal law.
Do you think in 2016 they spied on Trump's campaign? 2018 it was the Mueller investigation. 2020 they helped suppress the Hunter Biden story. 2022 they raided the home of a former president 91 days before an election. Maybe just let the American people decide. Maybe just stay out.
But you keep talking about this raid on Donald Trump. The amount of time, there was 9 months between the initial action that the archives made for request of documents before they even turned it over to the Justice Department. The subpoena was issued 60 days before they actually executed the subpoena. And more importantly, the only time the public found out about it is because Donald Trump told the public about it. This was not some sort of, you paint it as a picture of the FBI did this, and this within hours of each other, when it was actually a year and a half of Donald Trump not complying with any of the requests from National Archives. A year and a half. This is not some sort of proof that somehow that they've weaponized and playing politics over here.
They raided Trump's home. They haven't raided Biden's home.
Because Biden didn't defy a subpoena, Congressman. He defied a subpoena. By the way, he had 60 days to comply with the subpoena before they actually executed
President Trump had documents locked in a room with Secret Service protecting them. President Biden had documents in his garage and in a think tank that was funded by the Chinese. I think there's a difference.
Come on now, what would you expect, Chuck Todd? This guy's a hypocritical asshole.
President Trump was the only guy who was actually president.
You talk about that. You're worried about the Chinese and Hunter Biden.
No, I'm just saying.
Are you worried about the Chinese and Donald Trump?
They took pictures of.
Are you at all worried about that?
No, I'm not. But they took pictures of the documents at Trump's house. They took no pictures of documents. In fact, it's not just me who would like to know what went on here.
After Trump got $16 million in 2018 from his secret Chinese bank account, you're not worried about China and Trump? You hypocritical mother. That's a big 30 points for you. You're up to 100.
No, the issue is equal treatment under the law. That's the issue.
No, the issue is you do not seem to ever see the same conspiratorial problems when it's a Republican.
Those were all investigated for 4 years, and they continue to do it.
Their Durham investigation investigated everything you're trying to investigate and came up with nothing. Do you not trust Bill Barr and Mr. Durham?
When you got someone at the FBI altering documents in front of the FISA court, that's not finding anything? That's pretty important, Chuck.
They did not find what you are claiming that is out there. Well, why couldn't Durham find it?
The Durham investigation is not done. The Mueller investigation is done.
Actually, Durham has resigned. He'll be gone around the beginning of February. This guy's also a lying hypocrite. That's another 10 points. You're up to 110.
And it consumed the country for 2.5 years, and there was nothing there.
Let me ask you about subpoena compliance. You didn't comply with a subpoena from Congress. Why should you expect the Biden White House to comply with your subpoena?
Well, first of all, I never told the January 6th committee that I wouldn't come testify. What I raised is concerns. They first asked me, I sent them a letter back. I never said no. They never responded to the letter. Next thing I know, they issued me a subpoena. I sent another letter back to them. I never said I wouldn't comply, but I was very reluctant to deal with these guys because we caught them lying umpteen times.
That's a Maga hypocrite bonus of 50 points. Wow! This guy didn't testify, ignored subpoenas, and now he thinks that he himself has the right to issue subpoenas and expects people to come. That's an amazing piece of hypocritical bullshit right there. That brings you to 160 huge points. That's the highest score ever achieved on Hypocrite of the Week. Jim Jordan, you will be our new champion. You are absolutely a hypocritical piece of shit blowhard. It is impressive. We've got some nice parting gifts for those who just couldn't, cut it this week. I know you hypocritical pieces of shit over at Fox will not disappoint us next week. Your hypocrisy knows no bounds. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal, and this has been Hypocrite of the Week.